What I'm going to show you here is how lines and spaces work when we write music. The lines and spaces are like a map. If you wanted to show that the notes went up, you would go this way. If you wanted to show that it was a low note, you would go down this way. Now, in order to show you that, we have to start by talking about lines and spaces. If your teacher at school says, write your name on the line, this is what she means. Or perhaps this. The bottom of the letters touches the line. If your music teacher says, write something on the line, she means this. She means the line goes right through the middle of it. For that reason, this is a line note because the line goes through it, and this one is called a space note. So there are two kinds of notes, lines and spaces. When you see them on the music with all of the lines and spaces, if one note is a line, the next note up will be a space, and the next one will be a line, and the next one will be a space. So you can show how far the next note is. For example, if you run this line and you skip the space, you'll know you'll have to skip a key to get to the next note. When they first started writing music, people were, this was 1,000 years ago, people were writing words, and at the beginning of the line, they would write a very fancy letter to show you where to start. So they used that when they started writing music. And this letter is a G. You can sort of see how it curls around, and it curls around this line here. If you follow the line down, there it is. There's a G. This one here, if you figured out which letter this is underneath it, see how the line goes straight down to the key? See how the line is between the two dots? And notice that this line here is on this dot here is on the line. That makes this an F. I know it doesn't look like an F, but if these were long arms instead of little dots, you could see that here was the bottom, here was the top of the F, and here were the two forks of it. So let's take a look here. So here's the line, and that's a G. Here's a space, and that's an A. Here's a line, and that's a B. Here's a space, and it's a C. If you wanted to skip, say you were going to skip down, here's C. Here's the next space. You have to skip the B, so that's an A. And then you have to skip, if you wanted to skip again, you'd have to skip the G, so that one would be an F. Something interesting happens in the middle. When they first started doing this, all of these lines, this line here, see how there's a short one there? This line here went all the way there, and that means there was just a whole lot of lines. And people discovered that was too hard for your eyes to see. So what they do is there are 5 lines, and then there's one in the middle, and that one is only there when the note is there. That makes it, so there's a missing line in here. And then there's a whole another set of 5 lines here. That makes it much easier to read. And that means that this is a C, and that's why we call it middle C, because it really isn't in the middle of the keys. It's in the middle of the lines and spaces. So that means here's the line for F. This space would be G. This line would be A. This space would be B. Here's the middle C. This space would be D. This line would be E. This space would be F. This line would be G, etc., etc. as they say. Now, there also are notes all the way up here and all the way down low, but you don't have to worry about those yet. Let's just work in the middle here. This thing here, which is called a brace, that just shows you that all of these notes are meant to be played at the same time. Some instruments don't use this many lines and spaces. A flute starts playing on this note. That's the lowest note on a flute. So they don't need all these low notes. And a bass starts playing here. So they don't need all of these high notes. So some people don't use all the lines and spaces. On piano we do because we play all kinds of notes. So this is how lines and spaces work. And now all you have to do is learn it.